Hello everyone, it is Caneatra again, and in this video I'll be walking you guys through my first surgery and the recovery process of that, as well as everything leading up into me getting expanded. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. So, it is January 10th. It is the day that I have my surgery. It's a bright, early Wednesday morning. I scheduled the appointment for 10 a.m., but of course, you have to get there like a few hours or an hour before that actual time. So we arrived. Sat there until they called me back. Oh my God, like I remember my palms just like sweating. I'm so nervous. This is my first time ever going under any type of knife to like this extent. Like this was also, I mean, I've been under anesthesia before, but this was like my first time going under it in my adulthood, and I know that that could have issues in itself, so like that freaked me out kinda. Like I was nervous, but I was not fearful, because at that point I had already cried so much. Honestly, I had already experienced every single emotion that I really could have possibly to bring me to that moment. But I chose to remain as calm, cool, and collected, because I knew like if I worked myself up, my blood pressure is gonna go up and all of that stuff, and that's not good for anyone. So they told me to come in the back and of course put on like the garments and whatever. Actually, my mom, she took this picture of me right here, and as you can see, I look very much so prepared. At that point, there wasn't any fear left in me. There was just an anticipation to get this started, to get it over with. I think it was like a little complications with like sending some of my documentations like that I had to sign, you know, like the waiver forms or whatever. So it kind of pushed back the actual start time. I don't think they physically started working on me until about noon or so. So how this process works is it's kind of like a flip-floppy situation. So the oncologist surgeon goes in first because he is trained in the actual mastectomy process. The actual mastectomy process is the removal of all of the nerve ending tissue, fat, just all of that sits in the breast, and pretty much prepping out this now empty cavity for the plastic surgeon to then go in there. That actual mastectomy process with the oncologist surgeon, that takes about an hour and a half ish, 2 hours. So once he was finished there, it's literally, like I said, flip-flop. So when one left, the other one comes in. So when my oncologist surgeon left, the plastic surgeon and his crew went in, and then from there I had to get, it's called an expander. An expander is pretty much a medical device instrument in which they sew down on your chest for the purpose of them to expand your skin every week to get your skin prepped for like the actual exchange surgery, which is the implantation of just like regular silicone implants. They gave me these drains that the plastic surgeon placed in me with the expanders, and they were like sewed down like right here, because of course with the surgery this large, there is going to, on the flip side, have some type of drainage just from the body being in shock. So I just had those drains. They were like 2 pouches. I'll walk you guys through that process later. He did expand me a little bit like while I was actually in surgery, but I will say that the size that I went in before was not what I had after that first surgery. He kind of left me a little small, and that was fine, because I knew that over time I was gonna work my way back up to like where I want it to be. So that process also took, I would say, like an hour and a half. So I have two incisions that are pretty much like right here, so he went underneath. And I also chose to go with the nipple sparing route. So that means that I chose to keep mine, and I got medical opinions from both of my doctors in terms of what they thought was best, from a health medical standpoint, because technically that is still like a little bit of that tissue left that contains like that gene. But they advised me that, of course, that risk at that point is very slim to none. And of course, the plastic surgeon, and he recommended that because, of course, aesthetically, it looks better than having to get them created by the surgeon as well. Everything as like a total was about 4 hours or so. I remember just being like woken up out of course, from anesthesia, and just being like, oh my God. I knew that that pain post my surgery was going to be crazy. And of course, just talking to my mom, who, like I said, did undergo the same surgery, I knew that the pain level was going to be stupid, like immediately coming out. And boy, was it. It felt like genuinely like a dump truck just like wheeled over my chest, like constantly. Just pressure that you cannot even think of, that doesn't even exist, but just the feeling of pressure on your chest. Oh my gosh, that was so much pain. I remember one, just being, of course, completely out of it. I also remember just like breaking down and crying when I saw my mom. I was just being like so thankful for her being there. I just remember being like, Mom, I'm so glad that you're here. I love you so much. And the nurse was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm just crying because I love my mom so much. But I had those drains there. It was a lot. So I'm just like laying on this bed out of it with these drains. I'm looking at them. They're like full of blood. I'm just like, ew. I'm in pain. Of course, anesthesia does a number on you. I remember just that having an effect like on the nausea level too. So not only am I dealing with the pain of just the physical mastectomy, them removing something from me and putting something in, that hurt, but not only that, I'm dealing with like the side effects of me like vomiting and other things from surgery. So of course that was terrible. That was a terrible process. I had to stay overnight for that first surgery. I was able to leave that following morning, but January 10th 2018, that's a day that I'll never forget. It completely, of course, changed my life for the better, most definitely. And I'm very happy to have underwent this process. And let's get into the actual recovery process. The recovery process. This is now January 11th at about 8 o'clock in the morning. My mom and I, we get in the car, and immediately a seatbelt. Like, it's things that you people, humans, that we don't even think about, everyday things. Man, I had to change everything. With my mom having going through the surgery years ago, she still actually had some things in her car. So like my mom has this, it's like a seat belt cover type of thing, so it creates like a cushion between your chest and the belt. So thank God she had that, because just having the pressure of a seatbelt over me at that time, oh my God, crazy pain. Secondly, just not even driving, because of course I couldn't drive at that point, but even just being a passenger in the car, you don't realize how many bumps and dips there are in the road. But just going over any and everything, I remember like I just remember borderline crying just from the pain of just the up and down of a car ride. Oh my God. Just something as simple as riding in the car, having a seatbelt over me, painful to the utmost. So I get home. We have to immediately get all of my medications. So I am put on antibiotics. I then have painkillers, which are Percocets, which not a fan of whatsoever. That's honestly it was one of the worst things. I also have a muscle relaxer as well as a nausea medication because, like I said, just even coming off of that anesthesia made me feel terrible, so I needed something to soothe that. And then the Percocets to ease my pain also caused me nausea, so I had to combat that with a nausea pill and then the muscle spasm pills, because it's weird because I could physically feel the spasming. I could still feel a weird, it's my nerves were just I don't know, it just felt so weird. So of course my mom, she helped me get those on the clock because I was out of it for at least a few days. Back to the drains that I had. So that was honestly, having those drains were even more so of a painful experience. I'm pretty sure they were sitting on a nerve because something about those things caused a separate set of issues outside of just the pain sitting here. I'm just moving or laying down or even trying to lay. At this point, I can only lay and sleep on my back, and we'll discuss that later because that was a whole other issue. I had a specific mastectomy robe, so I was able to put the drains in this pouch in there, but just even physically moving my arms, which I really couldn't move my arms that much to begin with, painful. I had to empty these drains 3 times a day and then measure the milliliters and then report back to my surgeon every week post my surgery. So honestly, I remember pulling those drains and trying to empty them and putting them in that cup. And I remember specifically over here on the right side, it was, I don't know, just even tugging on it sent the biggest jolt of painful electricity through my body. It brought me to tears frequently. I hated emptying those drains just because I knew it was going to bring extra pain that I did not want in my life because I'm already in so much pain just from this. At this point, I'm doing my drains. I'm taking my pills as I need to. Also, sometimes the pills, they would have their own side effects. I had to deal with that. It was terrible, to be honest with you. And like I said, I could only lay on my back. And prior to all of this, I only laid on my stomach. So polar opposite, and it was the worst. I couldn't deal with it. I remember it would just bring me to tears sometimes, just physically being on my back that long. It was the worst. It was the worst. But at that point, he also didn't want me to lift anything heavier than a writing pen, which we can all say whoa, that's a writing pen. But yeah, genuinely. Thankfully, my mom was with me for the first 2 weeks. She was here around the clock, just helping me with any and everything because I needed help with taking on and off a shirt, because of course I could do this now, but even having my hands that, I couldn't even do. I couldn't do a lot by myself. I could not get this area wet. So in terms of me bathing myself, I had to keep on that surgical bra and then like kind of stand away from the water, then like duck in and out. So that was a process too. And Mom, I thank you and I love you from the bottom of my heart, as you already know, for even being there for me as you were, and just really, really, truly being my rock. I love you and thank you. Finally, I was able to have those drains removed. That process in itself, ew. So like they were sewn down like to either side, so he had to like snip them off and then pull them out. So like I didn't even realize it, but like the drain, I'm assuming, came like all the way like in here, because it was just like how like magicians tug on ribbon or something. It was just like endless pulling, and as he was like pulling it out, I could feel the tube just like exiting my body. Ew. Like it didn't hurt, like it was just a weird like outer body experience. I was ecstatic to have those drains removed from me. So moving forward there, I physically had I don't even want to call it, was like medical grade plastic wrap, for lack of me knowing what it actually was. But he cut that off, removed it. I just remember looking down and thinking like oh my God. Because I can't lie, it looked like a horror story. Because at that point, I'm just bruised, swollen. It looks terrible. I'm going to be honest with you, the expanders are not the most flattering thing ever. So, like, those look kind of crazy. And I just remembered just being like, wow, I can't believe. It was more so, I can't believe it. And it's not even like I can't believe myself or me doing this. It was just like I can't physically believe what I'm looking at. So not that it brought me sadness or anything. It was just something unbelievable, even though I'm looking down at it. So at that point, 2 weeks went on. Of course, my mom, she did eventually have to go back to work. So I was pretty much not like by myself, of course. I had an influx of people just coming in and out visiting me. And I thank you all genuinely from the bottom of my heart. Anybody that brought me stuff, just came over here and kept me company. I appreciate you 100%, because some of those days I got really lonely and I really needed someone to talk to, and it seems like people really showed up when I needed them to. So thank you for all of the support as well. When I had my recovery process too, I also had some of my friends like really truly help me in terms of like the grocery shopping aspect, or like helping me with my trash and things like that. So stuff that you really wouldn't even think about. I did have help with all of that. So I really appreciate me even having people that wanted to step up, because I know with this surgery you have to depend on people. Like you have to. So I really truly appreciate everyone that came to help me in any shape or form. I truly appreciate you. When my plastic surgeon at this point, I really don't have to have much contact with the oncologist surgeon at this point. I do eventually have like a checkup later on in the year, but right now it's strictly just myself and the plastic surgeon back and forth. And he is in charge of leading the exchange surgery, which we'll get into later. But immediately when my surgeon removed the plastic from my body, it was like an area on my right breast in which he very much so did give me like all of the warnings of like what could possibly happen, like, you know, just everything that a plastic surgeon should and legally has to do. But he told me about this thing called necrosis. It pretty much means like a patch of dead skin, like the nerves and the cells are either already dead or starting to die, and like your skin blackens. People who get like gastric bypass surgery, that excess skin usually turns into some type of necrosis because it is dead skin at that point. But with this mastectomy surgery, I'm removing something that was providing a blood supply, of course, to like the skin around here. So even just having like a shock to my body of removing like my veins and things from there, it definitely shocked my skin right here. So he wanted me to be very, very, very careful with that area. It wasn't too concerning at one point. It did become concerning once we saw that it wasn't decreasing in size. He really wanted that area to heal up before he started the expansion process. Necrosis at that point, if it's dead skin, you can't do anything to it except like literally cut it out. So he didn't want to go that far first, and like since I didn't and still don't have breast cancer, he just wanted it to heal naturally. But then he saw that it wasn't decreasing naturally, so it did raise like a little bar of concern for him. Even though I do have necrosis on this right breast, the actual nipple is fine. However, over here on the left breast, it was kind of weird because it looked like that nipple wanted to start going down that route, which was very much so concerning for me because I was like, oh no, now like that's gonna have to be removed. But he told me like to just chill out, pretty much not to worry about that until we fixed that, and then that would come later. But that also added to just like, of course, like no one was going to see that, but it also just added to like the wow, this is now my body, and me truly processing that look and how it looked, because it wasn't pretty. Like, I'm gonna keep saying that because it wasn't. Nothing about this process is a pretty process or a fun process. Like, of course I'm happy with them now, but this process is very, very strategic in how everything is done. And of course, something this major of a surgery sends such a huge shock to your body, so it's going to react in such a way. So unfortunately, it did kind of cause the appearance side of it to not be great, but I'm very blessed to even have had the surgery and for it to be successful, and for my first surgery to be a success, because that surgery is a huge surgery, and I'm happy to be on the other side. So at this point, I'm like back at work, and I'm still going to him. It's still not like decreasing too much, so he then pretty much tells me for me to move forward in just my mastectomy process as a whole and like move into the expansion process, that part needs to be removed from me. And I remember just thinking like, no, because that was going to have to push everything, like that would push everything back a few weeks. Like, I was really honed in to the schedule that I had because I really wanted to get done before my birthday, which was in September. So I was just like, oh no, this is something extra unplanned. I didn't want to, but I knew if push comes to shove, like, of course I want that removed from me. So we had everything planned, and Asia.
Say hi, Asia.
Hi.
I'm vlogging my life.
You're vlogging?
Yep.
Glad to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, because she was the one that took me to this appointment, in which he was actually going to remove this necrosis spot from my right breast.
Exciting news. I actually did not have to get cut open today. Yay! I really did not want to endure that. I was actually pretty sad about it, so I'm glad I didn't even have to go through it as a giant hole. He literally ripped off the scar and saw that the underlying skin that still wasn't healed yet was only about the size of, I would say like a pea size. The scab was much larger than that, and that's what he initially thought that would be lying under my skin. However, that was not the case, and he just gave me a topical cream to apply, and I'll be returning next week. So I'm just like, yay! I didn't have to get sliced and diced. I didn't have to get stitches. I don't have to worry about freaking narcotics or any of that weird anymore. So I'm just glad about that as a giant hole. So happy that that's not the case and everything's over, and I'll be back on next Wednesday, and hopefully I will be somewhat healed, so we can move on with this process. Hopefully everything will be back on track. I can continue having my second surgery in May, and hopefully I'll be done by my 24th birthday in September. My birthday is September 20th. So hopefully I will be done by that day. I already told Dr. Brzezicki that was like a giant goal for me. He said that he could maybe make it happen. I'm really clinching on to his maybe. I'm really hoping that the maybe turns into a yes. But as of right now, my skin is healing pretty fast. He did have to deflate my right breast by, I think he said like 100 cc's or something. So you can tell, you can definitely tell, yeah, you can definitely tell from this angle. So it's going to be a challenge in just that aspect of looking normal, I guess, per se, and just dealing with that, because it literally looks like a flat tire for lack of any other better comparison. But it does, in all honesty. But I know, like, it comes with it. Like, it's not gonna be like that forever.
I seriously was like 2 different sizes. It definitely made me a lot self-conscious just about my body image. At this point, it's around April or so. So in terms of my pain level, I'm still in pain. I'm not around the clock, of course, taking Percocets or pain medicines. But if I did find myself having some pain, I did definitely take a pain medication. I definitely took the muscle spasm medications that kind of took over for the pain medications. So that's how I kind of functioned throughout my day. I took everything very lightly. At this point, I'm able to drive, but even driving still hurts so bad, so I kept my driving at a minimum.
So I am currently leaving work on my way to my follow-up appointment with Dr. Brzezicki. I'm super excited because after thinking that I was gonna have to get the minor surgery, it's now the case that I used that cream for 2 weeks, the silver sulfadiazine, for 2 weeks, twice a day, and I am oh so happy to say that the area that was once a gigantic scab, bruise, scar, I don't really know, it's completely healed. I'm so excited. Of course it's gonna have, a scar there now because of it having a bruise there to begin with, but it's completely healed. So I think that I'm finally ready for expansion. Finally, like I said, I have 270 in my left breast, 100 cc's in my right, but I'm just so excited. It's been a long time coming. I can't believe it took almost 5 months literally for that spot to heal. It's actually ridiculous. Nipple necrosis is extremely serious, and I did not realize that it would literally take this long for a bruise to heal, but I'm so happy that it is. So now I'm on my way there, but I will be back in just a short bit with an update on the progression that I've made and what he's saying about the placement and everything. So I shall be back later.
So all of that was my first surgery and the recovery process from that first surgery. The next video that you guys will see is the actual expansion process and what that really entails, and also kind of how I'm able to set up the exchange surgery, because there was a lot of choices that I did have to make even in that realm of me still continuously healing day after day. Thank you so much for those who have asked me questions thus far. I did receive a question specifically about the pricing of the BRCA gene test. There are two answers to that question. The first answer being, if you yourself know someone in your family that has had a BRCA gene test done anytime prior, you can actually ask that family member to get their records from whatever medical facility that was administering that lab results, and then you can take your relatives' results kind of as like a receipt almost when you go get your BRCA gene test done. And pretty much, if you show proof that someone in your family has taken a BRCA gene test, the cost will be waived. So that's a huge, huge thing, because on the flip side, if you don't have someone, a family member that has already taken a BRCA gene test, you will have to pay out of pocket. And the testing does start around like $400 or so. So if anyone knows of any family members or relatives that has had the BRCA gene test done, that is the route that I would recommend you do, because like I said, it will be administered free for you. So I hope that answers your question. And last but not least, if you guys have any questions about anything during this entire process, please don't hesitate and reach out to me on my personal Facebook or on Instagram at As Told by Caneatra, or on Twitter at As Told by C. Wilson, as well as through email at As Told by Caneatra at gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I would really love to answer any questions you guys have, so don't leave anything off of the books. I will answer anything you guys have for me, so please, please, please get those messages to me, and I will be answering those on upcoming videos. Thank you so much.